sure while you can see, where I just list off brainstorms and then I narrow it down. I come up with other ideas, sometimes rather last minute in the middle of things. But here are some that I've printed out, because sometimes it's better just to visualize what your character is going to be. So we have Elmira and Linda Belcher, Elmira Duff. We have Raven from Teen Titans, Yzma from Emperor's New Groove, and Luna Girl from PJ Masks. I also have, I really like to attempt at least one or two OCs, which is original characters that just come from my brain. Those don't usually work out because of my crowd that I'm working with. When they don't see something iconic, when they don't recognize it, if they can't relate to it, it just doesn't go off as well unless I'm amazing at it. So here is what is happening. So for Yzma, we're going to start with her. I have some ideas. I've had this thing for about 20 years, at least 15, from an old Spiderella costume. And some of the edges are fraying. And because this material is so thin, because it is so aged and old, I'm going to be using fabric glue to glue it down. And then I also have this this was $1 from the dollar store. It's just a children's little boa of purpleness. This is not an accurate color representation, but I'm going to be making her feathers here, gluing those to this to make her neck piece. Then she also has some really long eyelashes. Using these broom bristles that I cut from somebody, I was discussing it and one of my patrons at work suggested this. I was going to make them out of paper, and at first the other person had said pipe cleaners, but those are too heavy for me to wear on my eyes, and then they came up with the bristles, and I thought, that's brilliant, I'm going to do that, that's great. Linda, the only thing I really need to do for Linda, I don't think most people are going to care about my shoes too much, but the only thing I really need for her that I spent about $3 on are her glasses. I already own a black wig. She's a pretty basic makeup character. That's why she's going to be early in the lineup. Same for her. I really only need to make the skirt, which I am in the process of now. I have this going for us. And I need to make her hair bow with the little skull on it. With Yzma, I need to get a long dress. And her skin is gray. Now, I realize that quite a few of my characters, off the top of my head, there are 4 characters that I know of, including these 2, that require me to have grayish, purple, blue skin. So I went ahead and got this grease paint, and I also have some more Ben Nye professional grade gray paints in different colors coming in. These 2 are going to be great mixers, and base coat grease paint is really amazing for that. And through the years, like even though this is only 98 cents, I've sort of grown to know the brands and the colors that will work and not fade on me. And those kind of grease paints are typically really reliable as base coats, and they're really good to blend with. And then I'm going to get the more professional stuff, mostly because I just need the amount. And those stuff spreads. You might notice that on a lot of these, there's some writing on the edges. What that is a list of things that I know that I need. So over here, I just kind of have the line going. I need a hood. I need body jewelry, which I have here that I've made. What I need to make for these characters. I tend to go through and decide, okay, what can I physically make versus what do I physically need to buy? Like with Linda's glasses, I wasn't going to try to make a pair of glasses when I can just buy them for a few dollars. I'm not going to buy a white skirt that I might rarely use when I have a bunch of white material. This is the sewing situation. I have patterns in here, which I know is hard to see, but these are all paper patterns. And then I have fabric here, and then a bunch of my thread. And I keep buttons and zippers in this container. It's an old mayo container. Recycle is a skirt that I've made. It's a really basic, simple skirt with a pull top. Because when I make costumes, it's different from this skirt, which has a zipper attached to it. You always need an escape route. That's one of the things when I first started making costumes and sewing clothes, is that you need to have an escape route. You need a way to get out of your costumes. And that can be because the material is stretchy enough, if you're using t-shirt material, or you need zippers, you need Velcro, you need buttons, something to help you get out of your costume. Fabric. There's also a reusability factor, like, am I going to be able to reuse that, as I mentioned before? So for this particular thing, this was left over from numerous other things to make Raven's hooded cape. And then there's also... This is part of what takes so long. When you have a zipper, this is not yet attached, but you have to sit there and pin the zipper along to folded pieces of your fabric and then sew that. And you have to do it to both sides. So you have to line everything up. And so whatever you think, this is how I do it. However long I initially think will take me. So if I'm like, okay, it'll take me 2 hours, I add another hour and a half to that to include shopping time, rethreading my bobbins on my sewing machine, measuring if things go wrong and I have to redo something. Add an extra hour and a half because you're also making costumes, or I'm also making costumes around the rest of my life. I decided to break out the tripod. So I'm going to start off with a question mark shape that's pretty exaggerated. Sort of a reverse C. And then make that. So we're just going to wipe that off. I'm going to make this go down here a little deeper. Make this come out a little more. So that's the shape I have there to mimic this piece. Now I'm going to, because this is on the floor, I can make any adjustments I need to. I'm going to take some wire and line it up and then get my my fabric and stick it on there. And because this is chalk, it will transfer and I don't have to sit there. And years later, we got our pins all set in there. And now I'm going to cut the pattern out. I know some people like to cut the pattern out and then pin, but I like to put in my seam allowance as I'm pinning and then cut around it. And that way I have maximum here. And this has a little bit of give too, because this is a... So I'm going to thread wire through along the sides, and that will keep this held up. Whenever you have bunny ears, anything like that, there's a wiring system that you do to keep it all held up. So I'm going to be putting some wire on this to maintain it, and I will do that after I sew it. I will use some fabric glue and some hand stitching for that. Yes, we'll be good. Was it moving and fluttering around? So I'm working on the hood. Ooh. This is just what I do when I'm by myself. But I gotta get my edges back to being good. So I'm just sitting here pinning a million edges. Thank goodness I finished the shirt because I was running out of pins. And I look poopy. but I'm going to work out. It's almost 8 o'clock, so I think I'm going to wait till 9 and let me tell you. Oh, ow, I just hurt myself with a pin. I was just about to say, I realized I had a bunch of my pins on the wrong way because I need to have the straight edge on this side. So I had all the pins going the wrong direction on the wrong side. I had to repin them. And when I went to go make that announcement, I also chose to stab myself. Trip number 233.